Hello and welcome to Fozzie's first day school video. I included this clip so you can see how crazy he was when we got into the training room. Quite a crazy man, but he's a puppy, so that's to be expected. I just kind of wanted to include that so you can see how different he was at the beginning versus at the end of the session. And I will say that our session kind of bounces around a lot because I don't want to ask a puppy, especially one that's this distracted, to focus on one task over and over and over again. So we did a bunch of different things. In a lot of our session, I worked with him for about 50 minutes. A lot of it was just standing around and letting him watch distractions or go sniff a corner of the room because he was too distracted by it. Or he would pull on the leash, so I would just stand still and wait for him to check in with me. So a lot of it was kind of boring, so I didn't include a whole lot of that here. But for place training, at first I would just walk near the bed, and if he would step on it, I would treat him. I'd put the treat on the bed. He did struggle a bit with being able to find the treats on the bed. Most people don't train by putting treats on the floor, so I can see why that was confusing for him. But you want to reward on the place bed so that the positive association is directly with that bed versus with you. And you can also lure him onto the bed with a treat or with your hand. So at this point, I'm not saying any words like place. I'm not giving him a command because he doesn't know what that means. I'm just marking the moment that he gets all 4 feet on the bed with yes, and then I put a treat on the floor, or on the bed, sorry. And I wanted to see if he could follow a treat lure. So something super easy and fun to do to break up the monotony of getting on the place bed, getting treated, and getting off, and repeating that.
Good. Good boy. Good.
He follows a treat in my hand pretty well, but a treat on the floor is a little confusing.
Oh my gosh. Faster than me. There you go. Good boy.
So when I say yes, that means he did the right thing in that moment that I said it, and he gets a treat for that. When I say good, it means it's more of a durational good job, so keep doing that thing. Or with him, since he's so fast and he gets on and off the bed very quickly, I'll say good if I don't think I have time to give him a treat on the bed before he gets back off. Also, I will not ask for a down on the place bed because we don't want to combine a bunch of commands together. But if he chooses to lay down, which he did, he can get more food for that because the place bed should be a relaxing spot. It should be a place to settle. And then, since he was mouthy, I would offer my hand, and if he would do anything nicer than biting it, I would give him a treat. So he starts by licking it, and I consider that to be nicer than biting it. It would also be nice if he would touch his nose to my hand to get, it's not really a command, it's kind of a trick, nose touch. If you look that up, you can teach him that, and that will help him not mouth your hands so much because we reward for him nose touching our hand. And we also worked on getting pets and praise without getting overstimulated. So I would pet and praise him and reward him periodically for not jumping and not mouthing. And for his jumping, unfortunately, I had a treat in my hand, so this was really hard for him. I'm just going to completely ignore him. Not going to do anything. I don't want to push on him because then that will amp him up more and make him more mouthy. So I just wait until he chooses a different option, like sitting. And if he sits instead of jumping, he can have a treat. Or if he jumps on me and is licking my hands and such, and then makes the choice to put all 4 feet back on the floor, then he can have a treat for that decision. So he was really all over the place for the first bit of the lesson. So I did something called sit on the dog. You can look that up, or I can send you a YouTube video for that. It's a little hard with him because he likes to jump and mouth, and he is very large. So I kind of modified it a little bit, and I did use treats. Typically you don't. But here I did to mark when his behavior was desirable and acceptable. And so we sat in the chair for quite some time just so he could settle down and get his bearings and put his little brain cells together. And then I started to introduce a leave it command while he was a little more relaxed. So I offer the treat in a closed hand so he can smell it and he can lick it. And then once he stops trying to get that treat, then I say yes, and then he can have that treat. So it's basically teaching him that doing nothing gets him the treat versus trying harder and harder. And then I'll start to open my hand. And if he goes towards it, I close my hand. And if he leaves it, then he gets that treat. It's really hard to teach a dog, especially a puppy, to do nothing. So you start at the first level with a closed hand for quite some time. But he caught on pretty fast, as you see here.
Yes.
And then he can have that treat once he stops licking my hand.
Leave it.
This is teaching impulse control, as well as setting you up for a leave it command in the future. I did start to say leave it at some point in this video, once I realized he was getting the idea.
Leave it.
So I'd ask him to leave this treat, and when he did, I gave a treat from my other hand. Because typically in the future, if you drop something, you don't want him to get the thing that you just told him to leave. Like if we drop medication on the ground, we're not going to say leave it and then give him the medication for leaving it.
Yes.
So we want to start introducing the idea of if you leave this thing, I will bring you another thing that you can have as a reward.
Good.
And then we worked on the pets and praise again without getting overstimulated.
Yeah.
And grabbing his leash,
Man.
because he likes to mouth at my hand when I grab his leash.
Yes.
And I totally tried to use his toy, and he was not interested at all. He did not want to put his mouth on his toy. He didn't want to chase it, didn't even care. So we did our whole session with treats, and we did not work on a drop it, unfortunately, because he did not want to play with his toy, so there was nothing to drop. That's why we did leave it instead. And here at this point, after we've calmed down a bit, he does actually start to get the idea of if he stays on the place bed, he continues to get treats.
Good man. Fozzie.
So I will walk around him kind of in a circle, and I'll give him treats on the corners of the place bed, so it's easy for him to stay on. And so we're building some duration, and we're building the idea that the edges of the bed are a boundary, and if you cross them, the treats stop coming. And here, when he catches himself and doesn't step off of the bed, I make sure to praise him and give him a treat for that. Because now he's actively trying to stay on the bed to continue getting the treats.
Good. Good boy.
So the first thing we do with place is Once they understand the idea, when we ask them, like we motion or we lure towards the bed to get on it, we'll start saying place as they step on. But the idea is that place is a duration stay. We don't want to have to say stay after they've gotten on place. So place means go to your bed and stay there until I tell you you can come off. So then if we say the word place, we have to free them off of it. So we say the word free so that they know that they can leave the place bed. Whereas if they step off of the place bed before we say free and we have said place, so we have given the command, then we need to make sure they get back on that bed. And then I do a little bit of playing with him, just super easy, touching his face, just to make sure he's not going to mouth at me, and he can have a treat if he chooses not to do that. And then I wanted to work on getting closer to the floor because that seems to overexcite him.
Yes. Smart.
And when he makes a good choice, I make sure to mark it with a yes and give him a treat. I will reward away from me because the more that we give treats from our hands, the more valuable our hands become.
Yes. When you raise those.
And then sitting in a chair also made him very excited. So we worked on that again and he did much better. So the next steps for the place training is I would start exactly how I did here. I would get a raised bed and do all of those steps. Don't start saying place at first until you can see that he's recognizing what's actually going on. And then you can start naming it. And then build some duration by going around the bed or just standing there with him and getting some duration and rewarding for that. And then you can slowly start to add some distance. So just take a half step back or a full step back. Go back and reward him for not getting off of the bed. I think if I sat on the ground like this at the beginning of the session, I would have been trampled. So since he's tired and he's making much better decisions, I wanted to work on it now. He was really fun. He was a good boy. I'd be happy to work with him anytime. We can further these things or introduce new things. And I really love that he chose to walk onto the place bed at that moment. That was a really good choice. He's really fun.